And by contract, K-Mac is off tonight. Every other Friday, he gets to have the weekend off to an early start. It's in his contract that he negotiated. So he's not here. He's the empty chair tonight. Professor's here. I'm here. LB is here as well, Larkin Belton. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. So you win 30 of 41 games. You got your team in first place. I know nobody pays attention to the NBA right now, but come on. Your team's 30-11. You're in first place, and they fire you as the coach in Cleveland. Now, Pro, I know you follow this much more closely than I do. Why? Why would they do that? What's the problem?
There is no problem. It's a personality conflict. We've seen it before. Magic Johnson ran off coaches. Bird ran off Fitch. They get tired of guys, and they get rid of them. Let's face it.
So you're putting this on LeBron?
On whoever. Because let's face it. Look at what happened last year. They were firing him last year as soon as he got hired. I don't know what they expect out of the guy. He has a sort of different attitude. Yes, he's American, but he spent almost 30 years in Europe coaching. Do they want a fiery guy? Do they think he ought to be hip with the new lingo? He's not into that. He's just a laid-back coach that, they decide to just light a fire on him. And let's face it, the guy sitting next to him, they had it planned for him to take over anyway, because you don't fire a coach and then suddenly within an hour of this also announce that the new guy you just put in has a 3-year deal.
All right. Well, David Blatt out as the coach of the Cavaliers, despite going 30 in the season. Coming up tonight here on the program, it's Open Mind Friday. 800-956-7266. Look forward to hearing from you. Our email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @sportstalksc. Good night to wrap up the week. Reflect on things that have happened this week around here in the sports world. Look ahead to the weekend of basketball where the USC men go to Tennessee. Clemson is off this weekend. The Tigers back in action on Pittsburgh, but we can catch up on what's happening around the SEC and the ACC. In fact, our good friend Mike Morgan will join us at the bottom of the hour. He's going to be in Tuscaloosa tomorrow doing the LSU-Alabama game, but he just saw Tennessee on Wednesday night doing their game, so he can break down the Vols for us as they prepare to take on the Gamecocks tomorrow at noon in Knoxville. 800-956-7266. We'll take phone calls early and often here in the program tonight. We'll be right back. Okay, our phone number, 800-956-7266 here on Sports Talk. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com and on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Phil Kornblut, the professor, Tom Hayes with you on this Friday night. Lines are open if you'd like to join us. Mike Morgan will be here at the bottom of the hour. Catch up with Mike on some SEC hoops stuff. He saw Tennessee play just the other night, and he can share with us some of his thoughts about the Vols team that is 9-9, 2-4 in the SEC. They do have one of the nation's leading scorers in Punter, averaging over 22 points per game. The Gamecocks just faced another of the nation's leading scorers earlier this week in Stephon Moody, another outstanding scorer in their face again on Saturday. And you wonder how Frank Martin's going to go about dealing with that. Kevin Punter is a 6'2" guard, and you wonder if, again, he'll put Thornwell on him and let him chase him around at the expense maybe of Thornwell's offense. As noted after the game the other night when Thornwell went 1 for 15, Martin said that part of the reason for that was because he spent so much effort defensively on Moody.
Well, the interesting thing about this game is, Tennessee doesn't start anybody over 6'6". They want to just run, make it ragged, get into scramble situations, because if they play a half-court game, the other team will probably exploit their lack of height, and that will make up some interesting things here. So I'm not so certain it's the defense tomorrow, Phil, is the way that South Carolina, how they utilize their height advantage to score.
Well, I mean, the Gamecocks have been killing everybody on the boards. And so their height advantage should come back into play for them tomorrow. You mentioned because Tennessee is not very big, and South Carolina has a very nice cushion in terms of rebounding advantage against most everybody they have played this year. The Cavicius, Cautious, and I think one of the reasons they do so well too is their guards rebound.
Yeah,
Thornwell goes in, Notice will go in, Dozier can go get a rebound for you. So that really shouldn't be an issue for them tomorrow.
No, it shouldn't be. The only key point you look at it is when a team wants to get helter-skelter, it's those long rebounds we talk about. It's that system that the Citadel uses now, where a lot of those long shots kick off the rim wide, so guards can come into play and rebound. That's where Tennessee can get their rebounding from. But as they say, if you live by the three-point shot, you usually that's your demise also if you depend on it. Because let's face it, Ole Miss hit their threes early, and then when they needed the dagger shot, they couldn't get it down the stretch.
All right, 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Also tonight on Sports Talk, a little bit after 7 o'clock, what's right around the corner is baseball season. Baseball season, college ranks cranks up here with practice starting next week. And who we're going to miss, Jack Leggett. But Jack's going to join us here at the in the second hour, kind of catch up with him, see what's going on with him in his life, in his time away from baseball now, since he has been away from Clemson baseball, since the change was made last summer. Happy for Monty Lee and the opportunity that Monty's going to get running the Clemson baseball program. But, of course, Jack Leggett, Hall of Famer, 1,000-plus wins, fiery guy, moody guy, friendly guy. The thing with Jack, you got all the emotions in one. I mean, he could be friendly most of the time, very much so. He could be ornery at times. He could be fiery, very competitive guy. Never wanted to take a step back from anybody, and that served him well during his coaching career. That kind of fire.
Well, yeah, he's a type of guy. And usually his demeanor was, you could tell the barometer by how good his pitching was that day.
Well, isn't that the case with most baseball people?
Yeah, that's what I've said. Yeah, all of them can get a little bit moody at times. Some are better at hiding it than some, but others wear it on their sleeve.
So look forward to talking to Jack. And of course, next week we'll start turning our attention to the beginning of baseball practice, along with everything else going on recruiting-wise today. No big headline story for you. No commitments to announce today. Excuse me.
Nobody stranded.
Not that I'm aware of, and no word from Rashawn Gary as to a fifth visit for him. Apparently, they could not reach a decision in their discussions last night with the family on where he will go next week, Clemson or Alabama. This weekend, he's going back to Michigan unofficially. He's got several friends on the Michigan team, so he's going to visit with them and turn that into an unofficial visit. So we will, of course, continue to cover the recruiting world for you over the weekend. And we will have, of course, stories up and running for you throughout the day on Sunday as we reach folks who visited USC and Clemson this weekend, as well as other folks we've been following who are visiting other schools. So if you want to check it out on our website, sportstalksc.com, and on our Twitter feed, hashtag ST Recruiting. Let's see what else is going on. Let's talk more basketball. As far as the schedule coming up tomorrow, besides South Carolina playing at Tennessee at noon, tomorrow you've got Wofford playing at Furman, the Citadel at East Tennessee. It's Delaware, Delaware at the College of Charleston. And Winthrop plays at Longwood tomorrow. Presbyterian, as I wait for my schedule to load here. Let's see here. Where's it going? Where's it going to tell me? All right, it's not going to tell me. Well, anyway, those are some of the games involving state teams tomorrow.
UNC Asheville, if they made it up there.
Okay. How about tomorrow?
Charleston Southern.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a heck of a game down in Charleston Southern. If I were a younger guy, I might get in the car and go down and take that one in. How about South Carolina State?
Let's check and see where they are. Yeah, that Charleston. That is an interesting tip-off on Saturday, 5:30 for that ball game. That's sort of an interesting tip-off for them. But I think most of that area, Charleston, that area is out of the realm of having any bad weather. South Carolina State, if they made it, because the state of Virginia is known as, I guess you could call it an emergency area right now. They're scheduled to play Norfolk State tomorrow at 6.
And Jacksonville is going to be at USC Upstate tomorrow. So that's the schedule around the state for the Division I teams. In the ACC tomorrow, as we mentioned, Clemson is off, but most everybody else is playing this weekend. Tomorrow, Syracuse will be at Virginia, Boston College at Notre Dame, Wake Forest at Miami, Duke at NC State, Louisville at Georgia Tech, and Pittsburgh at Florida State. I guess the Duke-NC State game is probably the most interesting matchup, though Syracuse, which is starting to play better, going to Virginia, which beat Clemson last time out. That should be a pretty good matchup. Sunday, North Carolina plays at Virginia Tech, which is, Buzz Williams got them moving in the right direction. They're 4-2 in league play, 12-7 overall. So much better start for them. Clemson at 5-2, sitting alone in third. North Carolina 6-0, and Louisville 4-1.
Yes, about to say I saw a lot of that Virginia Tech game the other night, and they led for most of that game at Notre Dame, and then, as it happens at Notre Dame and other places, last 3 minutes Notre Dame took it.
All right, in the SEC tomorrow, besides USC at Tennessee, which is a noon tip on the SEC network, you got LSU at Alabama at 2 o'clock, and Mike Morgan will be on that call on ESPNU. Ole Miss at Mississippi State, Missouri at Texas A&M, Vanderbilt at Kentucky. We'll see if Vanderbilt is continuing to make its improvement. Arkansas at Georgia. Kentucky beat Arkansas at Bud Walton last night. And Auburn plays at Florida. Auburn at Florida to round out the schedule tomorrow in the SEC. We'll be right back. Hey, it's a tough thing being an NBA coach. We mentioned David Blatt. Is it Blatt or Blatt? Blatt.
Blatt. I think
Blatt.
it's Blatt.
Getting fired 30-11, and now Luke Walton is going back to an assistant's role now that Steve Kerr is healthy. All his team did was go 39-4 under his direction as the interim coach while Steve Kerr was recovering from back surgery. So Steve Kerr comes back to sit on the bench tonight, taking over a team that's 39-4. So it's I don't know. So thank you very much. Here's a pat on the back and good luck in the future.
Well, what about, hey, you don't lose your position because you're injured.
Coach yeah. In the Kerr situation, I certainly get that. I mean, he won a championship last year. The other one is, like you said, maybe it's a little more personal, a little more issues inside the team, general manager, head coach, whatever the case may be, superstar and head coach.
I question that hire from the get-go. I mean, why go to Europe to get a guy who's American but has stayed in Europe for almost 30 years and you bring him back to the States? And what did you expect? I mean, I didn't understand. And as soon as he got hired, all they talked about is how long he's going to last.
By the way, our friend David Shelton down in the Low Country, who covers at Charleston Southern, tells us that they've been playing 5:30 home basketball games on Saturday for years. That's their thing, 5:30 on Saturday.
They want you to be well rested.
But you know what? I like that. I was thinking about that today. Schools, the big schools, they don't get to set the time for their games that are convenient, the times that are most convenient to their fans, that they know is good for their fans. They don't get to do that because television sets all the tip times and kickoff times. Wouldn't it be nice, like Charleston Southern? They don't have to worry about television dictating to them when to play. So they can find the time that is best fans. They must think 5:30 on Saturday is a very good time for them. Yeah. I mean, think about South Carolina and Clemson. Clemson, I'm sure if they had control, would play all their home football games at 1 o'clock. That's their traditional kickoff time. It's good for their fans travel-wise, et cetera, et cetera. South Carolina, of course, for many, many years, most of their history, played night games at home and would set their kickoff time for 7 or 7:30. Their fans loved it. Columbia being in the middle of the state, it wasn't so hard to get home, and it was easy to get to during the day. But you don't get to make that call anymore. Because you take the money from ESPN in particular, you don't get to make that decision, and they don't care. ESPN could care less about how this impacts the local gate. All they care about, how's it going to fit in to our schedule. And that's what you give up. You give up that control when you take the money.
You actually have control if you're South Carolina. If you won a few more games, you would have had the night games. Remember when they were winning, they still had them on at night.
Well, again, that's not your call, though. You're still at the mercy of some guy sitting in an office in Birmingham or
if Charleston Southern had a check sitting on their athletic table right now, say if you move the game so and so, we'll move.
You think they would? Can they be bought too?
Yes.
Okay, we're back with your Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network here on a Friday night. Phil Kornblut, the Professor Tom Hayes, 800-956-7266. The number coming up, the full recruiting report. And a great way to segue into recruiting is to welcome into the program a man who knows all the ins and outs of teenage boys, maybe even some teenage girls. That would be Mike. Mike, how are you?
Wow. I have absolutely noticed that's probably a good thing for all
I think
of us.
so. I think you should just drop it right there.
I think I'm going to do that. I'm doing well. How about you guys?
We're great. How have your travels around the basketball world been the last few weeks?
Well, before last week, they were great because the weather was great. So that made for some very nice trips. I've been all around the SEC since January. A couple of games at Duke in North Carolina in November, December, and it's all SEC since the turn of the calendar year. Got a chance to see everybody in person with the exception of two schools, and that's LSU, who I'll see tomorrow against Alabama. My first look at Ben Simmons in person. And then I haven't had Kentucky yet, and I'll see them next Wednesday night at Rupp Arena. So that'll kind of complete the puzzle. The weather has been shaky, as you know. Drove to Knoxville a couple of days ago and white-knuckled that from Atlanta all the way to Knoxville, and a lot of sleet and ice and all that good stuff. And then today, not nearly as treacherous going to Tuscaloosa, but ready to go. It's been an exciting year in the SEC, not just for the team that you cover in South Carolina, who I've seen a couple of times and we'll see again against A&M, but for some other teams as well. I think it's a really deep league this year, the deepest one we've had in a while, and a lot of good teams right now that are starting to find their way.
Yeah, deep in quality or deep in mediocrity?
No, I think deep in quality. I think you're looking at a league that's going to have at least 5 bids and potentially 6 that Florida kind of gets their act together. Their RPI is good because of strength of schedule, but people are now learning about Texas A&M. Texas A&M is not just a good SEC team; they're just a good team, period. Vanderbilt is a very good team. Now they are healthy again with Luke Cornett, who, if they get in the tournament, could definitely cause some damage. Look, Kentucky, Scalabiciere is a guy that clearly was not ready to be the impact player that people thought he would be, but I still wouldn't want to play them. LSU is the best freshman in the SEC that I've seen in over a decade, in Ben Simmons. South Carolina's been a tremendous story, and I don't see them letting up, particularly with their schedule. And then we already talked about Florida. Florida would be bid number 6. It's easy to knock a conference when you look at the bottom teams. You pick a conference, and I'll pick the bottom 3 or 4 teams and show you teams that are really awful. So, if we start judging the SEC on Tennessee, Missouri, Mississippi State, you could sit there and say, oh, it's not a really good league. Well, that's not how you judge a league. I mean, you got to look at the teams that are actually contending. And in terms of that, I think the SEC is having a pretty strong year.
Yeah, they are indeed. And, South Carolina, Texas A&M, I think they have sparkling records. Do you think basketball people across the country are reaching the point where they are accepting these two teams as legitimate tournament contenders and legitimate league title contenders at this point in the season as we hit the halfway point?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I think it's an important one because, look, the SEC, for a lot of national basketball writers and broadcasters, and these are people that I respect dearly, so I'm not tearing into basketball media as a whole. But let's face it, most of them turn a blind eye to the SEC when it comes to hoops. They just look at it as a football league. They don't know much about the teams other than Kentucky. They don't know much about the players. They don't watch a whole lot. They're obsessed with the ACC. They're obsessed with the Big 12. And so they kind of make little snickering remarks about a South Carolina or about an A&M because they just don't know any better. The fact of the matter is, if you watch A&M and if you really study their roster, and I had a feeling they were going to be good just because I had them last year and knew about their recruiting class coming in, that team is damn good. Now, you can argue whether or not they're going to be coached well enough to make a deep run of the tournament. I don't know. I'm not going to roll the dice and predict that. But it's not a fluke how talented they are. South Carolina, they don't have a first-round draft pick on the roster. At least I don't think so. But you don't have to have that to make a tournament run. If they get there, what they do with their size, with their depth, with their rebounding, and with guys that they're a veteran team that has just enough scoring punch, they certainly could make a run. I'm not saying Final Four, but they absolutely could. If they win one tournament game, as you know,
yeah,
it'll be the first win since Nixon for that program. So obviously, it'll be a huge story, and I think Frank Martin will get that team there and will have a chance to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike Morgan with us, of course, one of his sponsors, and one of our sponsors here on Sports Talk is Founders Federal Credit Union. And whether you are a Clemson fan or a Gamecock fan or a fan of any of the other great teams in our state, all the fans can agree on Founders Federal Credit Union, a convenient location on USC's campus, and a Clemson office coming soon. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership.
You know, it's interesting just looking at this matchup tomorrow with Tennessee. Tennessee, you almost have to go back to John Wooden to find guys, 6'7" is the tallest player. Interestingly enough, when you look at or scout this game, do you see South Carolina trying to exploit Tennessee's lack of height, or do you see them with Carrera being exceptionally good for his height playing inside? Do they go small?
Well, I think they're going to do South Carolina's not as good a shooting team as Vanderbilt, but they certainly have the size top to bottom that Vandy does in terms when you've got the Lithuanians and Carrera out there at the same time. They've got a point guard in Dozier that's 6'5", 6'6". So when you look at them next to Tennessee, I don't know if TV will do this justice, but it is it looks like the JV versus the varsity. I think Rick Barnes in time will do a good job in Knoxville. He's done a good job everywhere else, but he's undermanned, and they were an overachiever for a while. But they really struggle against bigger teams like a South Carolina. I think the Gamecocks out-rebound them by double digits, get a lot of stick-back, second-chance points. And the only way Tennessee wins that game is if Kevin Punter goes off. And if you play good defense on him and he has an off night, they just don't have enough other options to win the game.
Yeah, they're not a very deep team, are they?
No, not at all. I mean, they've had 4 coaches in 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine all the attrition there's been with that. And they lost by far their best player, Josh Richardson, from a year ago, is now in the NBA with the Miami Heat. So they're a bunch of hardworking guys. Rick Barnes has them playing tough, and they'll run and they'll on a given night they'll get hot from three. But they're just punchless overall when you start comparing them to the better teams in the league, and obviously South Carolina is one of those teams.
All right, Mike. Thank you, my man. Be careful walking around, slipping and sliding there in Tuscaloosa, and we'll look forward to your call of a good game tomorrow, LSU and Alabama. That should be well worth watching after USC and Tennessee.
All right. Always a pleasure, guys. Be good.
Take care, buddy. Mike Morgan, who'll be doing the SEC game on ESPNU tomorrow after USC and Tennessee play on the SEC network. The Gamecocks 17-1, 4-1 in SEC play. The Vols 9-9, 2-4 in SEC play. Mentioned Kevin Punter, 6'2" guard, averaging about 23 points and about 4 rebounds per game and about 4 assists. He's got the complete game going.
Yeah. I saw them one night, Phil, when he went off, and everything they threw up went in, and that's the night they handled Florida at home. And they played Gonzaga a pretty good game for about 35 minutes of that game. They played against Gonzaga. Butler, they played pretty well up in Indianapolis as well. But he's right. They kind of run out of gas if they're not hitting their shots because they can't rebound.
I wonder if Martin will put a lot of pressure on them, try and take their legs away from them. If knowing that they have a short bench, maybe he puts a little more full court pressure on them.
Well, I was asking Mike that question because remember Carrera, when Ole Miss went small, he asked to go into the post.
Yeah.
And he was very effective there.
All right. We'll come back with recruiting on this Friday night. Don't go away. Okay, to the recruiting report tonight. It's another weekend for official visits. USC's got a fair number of recruits coming in, and Clemson a small number. Here's what we have for USC's official visits this weekend. Unofficial, of course, and subject to change for a variety of reasons. But this is what we've got. Athlete Stephen Davis Jr. from Dutch Fork. Defensive lineman Darius Whitfield of Mobile, who's committed. Quarterback Yafari Wirtz of Newberry, who likely will commit if offered. They like him as an athlete, not a quarterback. Running back Tyron Jones of Hutchinson Junior College. Tight end Robert Tucker from Atlanta, he's committed. Receiver Javon Wims from Hines Junior College in Mississippi. He's committed to Georgia right now. Receiver Chavis Dawkins from Burns, he's committed. Receiver DeAndre Champagne from Fort Dorchester, he's committed. Defensive end Griffin Gentry of Homewood, Alabama, he's committed. Defensive lineman Kuramo Diobete from Philadelphia comes in on Sunday after going to Michigan State the first part of the weekend. At Clemson this weekend, Romeo Finley for Walton Beach, Florida. They really should put him with somebody named Juliet. That would just make for a very fine recruiting weekend.
I don't know. If you remember what happened to those two.
I never finished the book. What happened? John Simpson, LB, what happened at the end of Romeo and Juliet? Do you remember? Yeah, I think so.
They took the poison.
John Simpson, Fort Dorchester, of course, was a big weekend visit for him to Clemson. Nolan Turner, defensive back from Vestavia Hills, Alabama. He's committed. Offensive lineman Matthew Ryan of New Orleans. Rob Ryan's cousin of Holder, Seth Ryan. He's coming in as a walk-on candidate. Today, Will Muschamp was over at Chapin High School, excuse me, to check on prospects, and the Eagles coach Justin Gentry filled him in on his quarterback, Logan Bailey, well known in these parts, finalist for Mr. Football, participant in the Touchstone Energy North-South game. Logan's father, John, told us that there was a discussion between the coaches about a preferred walk-on, but no actual offer was made, and Muschamp said he'd be back in touch. The Citadel offered Bailey on Thursday. He'll take an official visit there next weekend. This weekend, he goes to Newberry. He might take a midweek visit to Presbyterian before signing day. Limestone and Tusculum also have offered, and he has visited Limestone. Running back Tyron Jones of Hutch began his career at Alabama in 2013, left there in the spring of 2015 after being dismissed following an arrest for possession of marijuana. He also had other disciplinary issues in the program that led to a suspension. However, after getting to Hutch, everything has turned in the right direction for him. Last season, he rushed for 655 yards and 5 touchdowns. He averaged 6.2 yards per carry. And this weekend, he takes his official to USC. He said he wants to see the facilities, the training table. He feels that's something very important. He said, do they hold him to a high academic standard? He wants to get a feel for the coaching staff and the running backs coach and make sure that he fits in the system. He's a native of Marietta, Georgia, and was recruited by Will Muschamp when he was at Florida and again in Auburn. So he's excited about this re-recruitment by Muschamp. This visit is the first official for Jones, and right now he doesn't have any others planned. He did take an unofficial to Auburn for the Iron Bowl. He said that there's probably not going to be a commitment this weekend. He says he really hasn't thought about that. He's going to get a good feel and probably make 2 or 3 more phone calls and try to get something else set up for next week. And then he'll probably make a decision. He's also been talking to Louisville, Alabama, Georgia, South Alabama, and others. His parents and sister will join him on the visit. He added his sister is a track athlete that could be recruited. Running back Justin Crawford, 6 feet, 198 of Northwest Mississippi Junior College, had a big year. 1,610 rushing yards, 16 touchdowns, also caught 29 passes, 394 yards, and 6 touchdowns. He is not going to sign on signing day. He's going to take visits after signing day. He's coming to USC on the 29th. This weekend, he's going to Missouri. Then after signing day, he's looking at West Virginia and possibly Miami for visits. USC recruiter Brian McClendon has worked Crawford hard to get the Gamecocks in the game with him, and he's looking forward to learning more about what USC has to offer, saying he doesn't know that much about them. He's a native of Columbus, Georgia, and committed to Charlie Strong when he was at Louisville. He was ineligible for his senior season of high school football in 2013 because of his age. He enrolled at the junior college in 2014 and has 3 years to play 2. More coming up. Okay, we continue with the recruiting report. One more note on Crawford, the running back. He said his top 3 are USC, Missouri, and West Virginia. Defensive lineman Rashawn Gary of Paramus, New Jersey, did not release a decision on his final official visit last night, deciding between Clemson and Alabama for that visit next weekend, taking an unofficial visit to Michigan this weekend. He did firm up his announcement plans February 3rd on CBS Sports Network, I guess is where he's doing it, or maybe CBSSports.com. Not sure if they're just streaming it or putting him on the cable channel, and he'll also tweet it out on February 3rd. Spartanburg quarterback Austin Scott was offered this week by Southern Miss. He's visiting Eastern Kentucky this weekend. 2017 defensive back Braylon Faison Walden of Greensboro was offered Thursday by USC. Miami coach Mark Richt last night in-home visit with receiver Sam Bruce of Fort Lauderdale, USC target. USC target defensive lineman Aaron Thompson of Fort Lauderdale committed Thursday to Maryland. Defensive end Alan Cater from Kennesaw, Georgia. We touched on this last night, a little bit more from him. He tells us he's down to North Carolina and Arkansas, and he said he felt the relationship with those two was stronger than it was with USC. USC no longer recruiting offensive lineman Jordan Johnson of Jacksonville. He had planned to visit USC this weekend, but they have pulled away from him. Clemson Thursday offered 2017 defensive back A.J. Terrell from Atlanta, 2017 defensive end Corey Bolds of Paramus, New Jersey, will visit Clemson next weekend. Now, he is a teammate of Rashawn Gary. You might think maybe the two of them are coming together. Quarterback Tylen Louisville last night, not taking a visit this weekend, is scheduled for Rutgers January 29th. USC has met with him twice, but he's not sure if he'll visit USC. USC has not offered. Defensive end Tyreek Martin is visiting Jacksonville State this weekend. He was at USC last weekend and is scheduled for Indiana January 29th. And according to 247 Sports, Will Muschamp today offered linebacker Damani Staley of Ridgeview, who is the son of Deuce Staley. Staley is 6'2", 215, had 21 sacks this season, 89 tackles, and 32 tackles for loss. 88 total tackles and 32 tackles for loss, and 21 sacks. Let's see here. Other official visits of note this weekend of guys we're following. Quarterback Steve Duncan from Ashley Ridge, Western Kentucky. USC target defensive end Jordan Woods, scheduled for West Virginia. Marlon Character, USC target defensive back, scheduled for Virginia Tech. And let's see here. USC target tight end Evan Henson, scheduled for Southern Cal. We'll give you some more visits coming up after the break.
From Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, Sports Talk with a recruiting report too big for just 2 segments. This is a 3-segment recruiting report for a Friday night. Where else can you get this kind of stuff on a cold, wintry Friday night? Where else, I ask you? LB, where could you get this? Nowhere. I didn't think so. So right here on Sports Talk. So we continue with the other official visits of folks that we're keeping an eye on. We've told you about those at USC and Clemson and a few others. We also have down for official visits this weekend scheduled. Of course, everything is subject to change. Defensive back Daniel Thomas, USC and Clemson target, going to North Carolina. As I mentioned, quarterback Logan Bailey going to Newberry. Isaiah Simmons, Clemson target, defensive back, visiting Nebraska. One-time USC commitment, J.J. Givens to NC State. That's a situation that just died on the vine after the coaching change. Apparently, the new coaching staff at South Carolina has not pursued him very hard. I do not foresee him being back in their plans. Let's see. Torian Hampton, defensive back from Lakeland, Florida, someone USC has spoken with to Middle Tennessee State. Defensive end Jacoby Hill, USC target, possibly to Mississippi State this weekend. Don't have that confirmed. To the Justin Crawford I mentioned going to Missouri. USC commitment Lloyd Cushenberry going to Mississippi State this weekend. Rashawn Gary, as I mentioned, unofficial to Michigan. Clemson target Lavert Hill, defensive back from Detroit, going to Michigan State. And Randrikus Davis, USC target, wide receiver, visiting Miami. Let's see. I think USC commitment Sadarius Hutcherson is going to visit Memphis. At least he's scheduled to. Clemson target Trayvon Mullen, big Clemson target. Trayvon Mullen, defensive back, visiting LSU this weekend. USC target defensive end Tariq Martin, visiting Jacksonville State. Pro Wells, tight end, USC interest, visiting Iowa State. Clemson target defensive lineman Mikael Carter, visiting Georgia Tech, as is South Point defensive back Nick McLeod. He's scheduled to visit there. USC target defensive lineman Stephon Taylor, visiting Florida State. USC target receiver Sam Bruce, visiting Florida. Mentioned visiting Eastern Kentucky. Airport running back Jonathan Earl, visiting Charleston Southern. Hank Tuipulotu, tight end from Nation Ford, visiting BYU. Christian Fulton, defensive back from Metairie, Louisiana. USC has talked to him, but I don't expect a visit to them from him. He's visiting Arkansas this weekend. KJ Chamberlain from Emerald, scheduled to be at Arkansas this weekend, according to my notes. Corey Banks, USC target, wide receiver, visiting Alabama this weekend. And that'll do it. We'll be right back. All right, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. It's cold. It's wintry outside. There's only one way to warm you up this time of the year, and that's, of course, to talk some baseball. And we welcome back into Sports Talk the Hall of Famer, longtime Clemson coach, Jack Leggett, who is, facing a baseball season without a team for the first time in a long, long time. I thought it'd be a nice idea to catch up with Coach and see how he's doing. So let's ask him, Coach, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, Phil. How you doing down there? It's good to hear from you, and it's a special time of year for sure, and brings back some good memories, good thoughts, and blood flowing through the body. There's no question about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I said, Monty's going to do fine, and happy for him to have an opportunity. Certainly going to miss following you and everything surrounding you, running your baseball team. Do you feel ready to move forward? Do you feel ready to go into a baseball season without a team to coach?
Well, it's certainly different. There's no question about it. It's been a long eight months trying to figure out what next move is and what I want to do next. And, so I've been spending time with family, got some traveling, and been to some other baseball programs and some clinics, that kind of thing. So I've stayed in touch with it, and it does seem strange, that's for sure. Went down to practice the other day just to stay in touch with everybody. I've got some really good friends at Clemson, and followed very closely Dabo's season in the football team, and certainly Mike Noonan and his soccer team had a great season, and following Brad Brownell's team really closely, and I stay in touch with all those guys. And so I do miss that part of it, miss that camaraderie, miss that connection that we've all got together. We're good friends, and so it is a little bit different. There's no question about it. So
yeah,
it's going to be an adjustment.
So Monty has a open door policy for you, open arms, come out whenever you want, hang around, talk a little bit.
Yeah, I think there's he's been very receptive that way. I don't think it's just more me, trying to figure out, my comfort level, and I don't want to get in anybody's way. And I just enjoy being around the players, and I think they enjoy being around me, and we've probably missed each other a little bit. And so I just got to get it right in my mind where I go down there. He's made me feel comfortable, and it's not. This is not on him or anything like that. So it's I want them to do well and hope that good things happen, and hope the players play well and all those types of things. And but it's it's a small town, and it's you're around it all the time. So you got to stay busy and keep on moving, because it's it's something that's right in front of you the whole time. So it'll be a little bit of adjustment for me. There's no question about it, and this has always been a special time of year for me, and I've always been excited about the start of the season and getting things ready to go for Clemson and for our players and preparing for the season. So it's something different that hadn't happened in almost 4 decades. So it's something new to me.
Yeah. Talking with Jack Leggett, do you plan to be sitting in the stands on opening day?
I like to watch baseball, and I like watching teams play. And Maine, my alma mater, is coming down, and so I hope I, feel comfortable enough to do it and go out and watch some baseball here and there. I would like to be, I'm hoping it's a welcoming thing. So we'll see where it goes. I haven't, really gotten that far with it yet. I've thought about it for sure, but we'll see what happens with it, Phil. I've, it's just been a big adjustment. I'm trying to get myself through it in the right way and do things the right way, and try to be as helpful as I can in any way that they'd want me to be. I've been around. I went down and saw Sully's team down in Florida this fall, and that was a really great weekend for me. I spent some time, with his staff and with Sully, who's such a great friend of mine, and talk to his team, watch his team play. Obviously, can't get on the field and coach and that kind of thing because of the rules, but I was able to watch them and kind of observe and get some observations, that kind of thing. And that was enlightening. Did a clinic this past weekend out in St. Louis, flew in St. Louis and in Greenville, Illinois, called I-70 Clinic, and that was in front of 300 coaches, and really had a great time with that. That was a really rejuvenating weekend for me. And So I'm trying to stay busy with it. I still got that baseball itch and the itch to coach and, at least teach coaches and work with coaches and, with high-end players who are highly motivated, those types of things. So we'll see what happens in the future. I've got some, possibly some ESPN stuff. We'll see what happens with that with the college baseball. We'll see where that goes. And they're trying to get the schedule together, and we'll see if it's they want to include me. And if not, then I've got some other things on my mind.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, cool.
What about getting back inside a dugout and running a program? I know you looked into the Auburn situation when that came open,
Right.
and they went with somebody who'd been there before.
Mm-hmm.
Can you, a year away from the game, a year removed, a year older, in the way college baseball is today, do you think there could be a place for you out there next year?
I guess that's possible. It just depends. In my way of thinking, got the energy to do it and the enthusiasm to do it and obviously the experience to do it. But someone else has got to believe in that as well. But at the same time, I'm looking to channel my energies in a real positive way and try to help some kids and, do some things that I think will help some kids get better at baseball and help some coaches get better at it and lend my experience that way. So I'm going to try to figure out what the best way to do it. I wouldn't discount that, Phil, because there is an itch there, but at the same time, I don't do very well with free time, to be honest with you. I went mountain biking about 6-7 weeks ago and flew over the handlebars and broke my collarbone and tore my
No, you did
rotator
not.
cuff. Oh yeah. The good thing about it is 5 days later I had a ski trip with my kids planned out in Colorado, so we went out there. I skied one arm for 5 days, as hard as I've ever skied.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Time out. So
Okay.
Now, how many years ago was it you broke your neck skiing?
I was 15.
15.
Yeah,
and
riding a bike.
And now you're riding a bike. And what happened? You hit a pothole or something?
I was getting a little too excited, I'm sure, and competing too much. And next thing I know, it had been a little wet, so I was going across the bridge probably faster than I should have been trying to take a right turn. The wheels got stuck in the mud. I went flying. My right shoulder landed right in the ground as hard as it can land, and I knew I broke something. And so I biked out of there another mile, with my son. We were mountain biking, so I biked out of there another mile, but the whole time I knew my shoulder was done. Did the x-ray, and, I healed that up, did the sling thing, healed it up, and, the bone healed, but I knew something else was wrong, so this had MRI, and the rotator cuff is gone, so I've got to do, and it's the right one too, which is too bad. So I've got to, have surgery on Tuesday, and then I get that long rehab that goes along with it. So I think that's my focus right now, is getting back to being able to do the things I like doing actively. And so I got to knock that out. Like I say, went skiing afterwards and done some things with my family and been able to do some things. But at the same time, right now I'm limited, so I gotta get back in the swing of things.
Oh my goodness! And your surgery's coming up on Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday. No throwing baseballs for you for a while.
No baseballs. Unless I'll learn how to do it left-handed if I had to.
I bet you would. Hang on a second, Coach. We're going to hit a quick break and come back with you for a couple more minutes. I want to get your impression of, what you've seen of Clemson so far, and maybe South Carolina if you've had a chance to, check in on them. All right. Jack Leggett, how about that? Took a spill on the old mountain bike.
Okay, but that means he has to get back into coaching just to protect himself.
I'm telling you, he needs a job to get him off the road. That's off the back roads and off the mountains and off of everything else where he gets himself banged up. We'll come back a couple more minutes with Jack in a moment. We're visiting with former Clemson baseball coach Jack Leggett, and what you saw with the Tigers in the fall. What's your perception of the kind of team that Monty Lee will put on the field this year?
Well, I just only watched him practice a couple times this fall, kind of from a distance. I was down there the other day, and I think they've got some talent. They've got some depth, position player wise, and some athletes, and we had some good kids coming back. So I think they'll put something together offensively and something defensively, and it's a matter of finding who can do what on the mound, and having some people step up. I think that's the story with every season, of course, is
Sure.
You got to find some guys, some surprises, and your good players got to stay healthy, and they've got to they got to play well. And so I think there's some good things. I think there's some good things ahead for them.
Seth Beer, the guy you recruited, got him committed, and he's now in school early. Sounds like a special player. Could he be one of those special ones?
I think so. Seth was we hit it off and came up here, and his family, and they were very interested in the college experience, and so we had a really good relationship with Seth, and so for him to to forego his senior year in high school, the senior spring, and come early, kind of like Kyle Parker did, it was a special thing. It made a commitment. It made a commitment to going to college and having the college experience, and I was able to watch him practice a little bit yesterday, and he's he does have some ability. He's got some bat speed. He's I think going to be a really good player. It's always a big adjustment to going from high school, no matter what kind of athlete you are. What kind of baseball player you are. The speed of the game is a little bit different. Everything's a little bit different. So he's just like anybody else. He's got some things to learn, I'm sure.
Well, he certainly sounds like he's got all the potential and the tools to be a great one for him. I'll tell you what, now, to help keep you in the ball game, if you want to do so, we'd like to dial you up pretty regularly during the baseball season and get your thoughts on things happening around the state and college baseball. You've got so many connections around the state and the ACC and the SEC. Maybe we can tap in to that deep knowledge here from time to time.
Well, that'd be fine. That'd be fine. I follow it, and certainly, like I said, it's a special time of year for me, and it's in my blood. I had, just so many good experiences here at Clemson, and so many good kids come through, and assistant coaches, and so forth. And it was something that gave my heart and soul to for a long period of time, and I miss it. It's a special. It was a special time. And so we'll see where it goes, and you just keep in touch with me, and we'll try to figure that out.
Well, our history is coaches that normally work with us when they're out of a job get a job the next year. We have a good track record.
Never try. Well, Phil, there's some interest in that, but at the same time, it's got to be the right situation. That Auburn situation, it was very interesting. The timing was actually pretty good, but it was short and kind of quick after all this happened. So my heart was still in Clemson.
Hang on, Jack. I got to jump in on you real quick. Hang on, if you don't mind. We'll come back in just a second. And we're back, Sports Talk. One final brief segment here with Clemson, former Clemson baseball coach Jack Leggett, but it does give me a chance to ask a couple of more questions. Thanks for hanging with us, Jack. You were telling us about the Auburn situation, how you kind of got involved with that pretty deeply, but the timing wasn't good.
It could have been a good situation, and the timing was good in a lot of ways because it was available in the fall and was ready to jump in on it. But at the same time, it was still raw. Everything was raw, Phil, and my mind was still here, at Clemson and with this program and kids and so forth. So it was a little tough time to make a transition, that would involve the kind of commitment that it takes to do it. And so just wanted to step back a little bit and try to evaluate it and see where I feel from here, and then we'll take it from there. But it was a really good experience to go down there.
Now, when you think about Clemson baseball, most of us only know two Clemson baseball coaches in our lives, Bill Wilhelm and you.
Right.
That's it from the late 50s through the mid 2000 and whatever decade, 2010s, however we word it. It's been you two guys. And so, that's obviously. Are you expecting from Clemson at some point, maybe not this year, but some point down the road, some sort of some way of honoring you with the naming of something or something to recall your days there leading the baseball program?
Oh, wow. It was a tough question. I guess it would certainly be nice. I've gotten so many great memories, and there's been so many good things happen within the baseball program. And so I don't know, and it's up to how they want to go about it. And it's one of those things that, it has a special place in my heart, that's for sure. So I'd love to see, it end on a better note than it did in some fashion, somehow, some way or other, because it didn't seem right. And so I guess that would be up to the people at Clemson, and up to how they want to, how they want it to be finished, and how they want to move on with it, and how they feel about it, and that's really a decision they'd have to make, I guess.
But you'd be open to it. I mean, I remember Coach Wilhelm. He fought him on every opportunity to name or honor him in some form or fashion. You'd be more open to it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have so many good memories of Clemson, and so many good, fans, and so many good friends, and so many, colleagues and people that I worked with, and I've had, some great players, obviously, and some great memories, and so it's a part of my life. It's in my heart. It always was, and so it was difficult the way it ended. It was difficult the way things were handled. So it was tough. So it wasn't my my idea of how things should end and how things should be taken care of. So this has just got to be, if something happened or whatever, I'd be open to anything. And it's just, it's up to how things are going at Clemson now, and how things are run there, and up to the administration there, I guess. I hadn't really thought about that a whole lot, except, it's been an open wound a little bit, and it's been a little bit raw, and I never intended or never thought I'd walk away from that baseball field, with that feeling and feeling like that. So hopefully at some point or some time we, can heal those things up, or, feel like walk away with a little better feeling. So I don't know. It's a tough question for me to answer, Phil.
Sure.
You got me on that one. I'm going about doing my thing, and I have my associations with certain people up there that are really good friends and always will be. And there's a lot of them, believe me, there's a lot of people, and they've all been very nice to me. I go to football games or something, people stop you and talk to you. And so I think there's a lot of really good feeling up there, and I'd would cherish the idea of just being able to have some good feelings and the football, all the fans of football, basketball, baseball, all those people are, they're great fans, great people, and I would hope at some point that we can close this thing in the right way and have a good feeling or a better feeling about it than with the way it ended.
Do you feel along the same lines that Danny Ford felt when he left, because it took a long time to bring Danny, back into the Clemson family and to welcome him back in? I mean, do you feel the same way?
I don't know how he felt, to be honest with you. I'm sure it was, it's difficult. Yes, it's been hard. Yes, it's been difficult. Yes, it has been, very, I don't know. It's just not the way I expected it or ever thought that it would end here at Clemson. And so it was disappointing, to be honest with you. I guess I could be honest in saying that. And, but at the same time, I'm not a bitter, vindictive, I don't need to go off in the sunset bitter about anything. Certainly with most of the people that I've ever come into contact with Clemson have been really good and really supportive, and I think a lot of them, and I might be saying I miss them, and I think some of them have, many people have indicated they miss the idea of me being a coach at Clemson, but at the same time, there are other ideas, and I wish them good luck and hope it works out for them. But it's been tough, so I don't want to go off in the sunset as a bitter person, and I want to be. I was always loyal. I always worked as hard as I could possibly work, and I gave everything for 25 years or 4 years of my life, and helped, with the new facility, and helped with that baseball program for a long period of time. And I would hope that, in some way they respect that and respect how much I gave to the baseball program, to the university, and to the athletic department. And, right now it's just been tough because it just hasn't shown up like I wanted it to. But I don't know. I want it to end in a better way. That's for sure.
Sure. Well, I think baseball fans in our state can certainly thank you and Ray Tanner in particular, two guys that elevated college baseball in our state. And really, you made South Carolina, the state of South Carolina, the two of you with your programs, you made the state the envy of all of college baseball, the way you two guys took your programs to the top with all the trips to the World Series. And so, I think all baseball fans in our state owe both of you two guys who no longer are coaching a debt of gratitude for what you did for the sport in South Carolina and the way that manifested itself nationally.
Well, I appreciate that a lot, Phil, and that means a lot. Obviously we had some great battles, and certainly both of our programs, along with a lot of other programs in the state, had some really good years and brought some notoriety to the state and some pride to the state. And so it'd be nice, I've thought about that. Ray's always been a good friend, and I've respected him a great deal. And we've always had some great battles along the way and some great moments on both sides. And, whether they be down at Sarge Fry Field or at the new facility or up here at Clemson, we've had some great moments and some awesome times against each other. And, I just to know that people appreciate that. And I certainly got some fond memories of all those games and all the things that we've hopefully brought to the state. And I hope that they're good memories for everybody as well. I know it's been always a competitive battle against South Carolina and their fans and all the fans up here. And, I know that all rivalry, but at the same time, it's always been something. It's always got a good memory in my mind about the competition and about how we all went about our business and our battles. And so it was good. It was good. It's been really good.
Coach, we thank you very much. Great talking to you again, and we will talk to you during the season.
All right. Thanks a lot, Phil. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Good talking with you.
You too, man. Great stuff. Thank you very much. Hope you feel better. And stay off the skis and stay off the mountain bikes and just stay home. That's a good – you can't get hurt at home usually. Jack Leggett. All right, so what did we learn from Jack Leggett? First of all, crazy on a mountain bike and crazy on skis. We know that. And sorry to hear about his accident, but he'll rebound from that just like he did the skiing accident 15 years ago. Still wants to coach baseball somewhere. Still feels like he's got a lot to give to the game of baseball, to work with young players, and especially, as he put it, the kind of elite players, really good players. And, you know, still trying to deal with having the rug pulled out from under him at Clemson. And I can certainly understand. I mean, he built that program. He took over a solid program from Bill Wilhelm and kept it there. You know, Coach Wilhelm, he never won a national championship. He took Clemson to the World Series several times. He won a lot of ACC championships. And Jack kept it there. Now, the thing is, it got tougher as Jack's coaching career moved along because, you know, when Coach Wilhelm was doing it, not to take a thing away from him or Bobby Richardson or those guys or June Raines, let's face it, the emphasis on college baseball wasn't there. The money wasn't there. There weren't many good teams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, today, I mean, it's college baseball is right up there with the other sports in terms of the interest and the money and the competition.
Let's face it. Toughest thing that ever happened to Jack is what's happening with the coaching staff at Auburn right now. It's what your neighbor did. That's what happens. I think, to me, I thought the pressure turned on Jack as soon as Ray Tanner won those back-to-back championships. And suddenly some of the
But do you realize, and this is just fate, it's just fate, but you realize when South Carolina played Clemson in that elimination game at the College World Series, it could have changed everything in history.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It took a great defensive play by USC's first baseman. What was it? Snagging a ball down the line?
Down the line. You just it was anticipatory play.
But my point is, if he doesn't make the play,
mm-hmm.
Clemson probably goes on and wins that game. And then again, you could also say, along those same lines, if the umpire doesn't give Jackie Bradley Jr. a break on a very close pitch against UCLA, I think it was in the second game of the second game of the championship series. They were looking at a loss, and he took a 2-1 pitch that was very close.
I thought that was in the extra inning game against Oklahoma, wasn't it?
Was it Oklahoma?
Took that tight pitch.
It could have gone either way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's called a strike, the Gamecocks don't move on.
Mm-hmm.
They go home pretty quickly. So, you know, fate and small things in baseball make all the difference. But I hear what you're saying. I would hope that alone is not the reason.
No, but it turned the heat up was what it did. But the one thing, if I'm Jack Leggett, I knew he expressed himself well about it, is the fact that when you sit there, it's like you're home, Phil. If you sit there and lay out plans of what you want to see, and you never get to sit your behind in the new office, now there is where, I mean,
like he said, you know, Clemson's a small town.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's not like he can go and get lost somewhere in the city because it's
hard
not
to get
like
lost
that.
here.
Yeah, but a little easier up at Clemson. I mean, you walk downtown, it's just like walking through a small town in South Carolina. So, you know, and I'm sure when people see him, they slap him on the back and say, hey, you know, wish you were still here. I'm sure he hears that a lot. And that's, you know, it's got to be tough for Monty Lee too, because Monty and Jack were friends, you know, through their professional careers, known each other a long time, and always tough to follow a legend, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure.
But Monty will be given a chance to continue. See, it's not like it's totally broken at Clemson. Excuse me. They did make the NCAA tournament last year, and so it's just a matter of continuing to develop. Go ahead, take over.
Well, no, what I was about to say is I think probably when you look at guys who coach, deep down, and I think Frank Martin says it the best, is you're basically a teacher, and you're trying to nurture guys to bring them that step before they reach adulthood. And you could tell that's uppermost in Jack's mind, because I would like to think I'm a better man than this, but it would be tough, even after 8 months, for me to walk to practice and watch practice. So that tells me he's in it for the kids, because I wouldn't have been able to show up at a baseball practice at Clemson, not this early.
Well, I'm sure he wanted to see some of his guys that he recruited, guys that he helped develop. And, maybe that was a way for him to it was what's the word? Cathartic for him, yeah. What was it the caller suggested? Bourbon? He suggests bourbon to help with a cough.
I suggest anything now.
I suggest a bullet the way I feel. Well, I will come back on Monday, a healthier man. I am going to sleep. But I can't sleep on Sunday recruiting. I'm going to sleep tomorrow. I was going to go up to Knoxville for the basketball game, but no way. Not the way I feel and not the way those roads feel. I'm not going to fight that. Not a smart thing to do. What are you doing this weekend, Pro?
Oh, hey, I'm going to stay warm. I got everything. I got my batteries. Now they say there's a chance of freezing rain, which I hope not. But I do have my firewood and sterno logs and batteries just in case the power goes out. But hopefully that won't happen. But, my hats off to the people in the upstate. I know they're clearing the roads and staying safe, and people in Charlotte. And, of course, all the complaining going on because people from Arizona and other places who want to see the championship game will have problems flying in. It'll be interesting to see when they reopen the airport, because I think around the country they canceled around 5,000 flights. They did.
All right, so our picks for the weekend of the NFC and AFC championship games are?
I'm picking the Panthers at home. Lousy field conditions, because when the field conditions are like I think they're going to be, the best team that runs the football will win the game, and the Panthers run the football a little bit better than Arizona. But it wouldn't surprise me if Arizona pulls the upset, but I don't think they will. And I'm just hoping. I'm not predicting. I'm just hoping.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sick of New England. Denver, if anything. Now I know Denver's been there and lost to Seattle 2 years ago, closer to 3 now. But I would prefer to have somebody other than hearing Tom Brady's name called every 5 seconds during the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I'll take the Panthers. I think proven themselves. And, the way they came out and hammered Seattle in the first half, wouldn't be surprised if they can come out and just lay it to the Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals are okay. They're not great. I'm not a big Carson Palmer fan. He's going to be a sitting duck in that pocket, and the Panthers aren't going to miss him like the Packers did in overtime when they should have thrown his butt to the ground.
He did a 360 though. That was
we should have got him on the ground. Should have got him. Panthers aren't going to miss. I'll pick the Panthers. And I'm like you. I'm sick of the Patriots. I mean, I hate it for Googe. I'd love for Googe to have
got 2 rings.
I know it. He's got 1 for each year. Does Peyton Manning have enough left in the tank?
I don't think it's Peyton's game. I think it's Denver's defense's game is going to win this game for Denver.
Yeah. Go with the home teams. Home teams didn't win a game in the wild card round, but then the cream rises to the top in the next 2 rounds. So home teams it is. All right, Pro, have a great weekend. Stay well, stay warm. LB, have a great weekend. Stay well, stay warm. And all of you out there, stay well, stay warm. And we'll see you Monday night here on Sports Talk.